Ketchum, and you're listening to Silph Radio.
This is the one, the only, we'll just say the one, Silph Radio, a Pokemon podcast. I am your host, Nathan K., and with me twice today we've got...
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This will be my next appearance. I am Phil Cobb, the only
Cobb. By twice... Here's what we're doing today. So, it's been a while since I've put out a Silph Radio, so I dug up a conversation that me and Phil had for like 30-40 minutes back in July 2018. That it was a different world back then.
Yeah, 8 months will do that to you.
And it was just like a little 30-40 minute discussion that we had about no topic in particular, just, poke chat. We talked a lot about, like, designing the perfect Pokemon game. We talked some more about regulations and the 6 Pokemon limit.
Do we get to talk about regulations again?
We have a huge libertarian listener base, so
if I knew what that meant, I might be excited.
And just a couple days ago, at least as of the recording of this intro, Pokemon Day 2019 happened. It was a day and it happened. Do days happen?
I suppose they come and go. I don't know if they do anything while they're here.
Yeah, what would be the grammatically correct way to... This is the fucking podcast you guys listen to? This is what you've been waiting for? Come on, I know there's a better Pokemon podcast.
There's not. I've looked.
The Pokemon Day happened, and I had gotten up, I was making my breakfast, and Steve goes, "What's Pokemon Direct?" And I'm like,
"Oh, Steve, what are we going to do with you?"
I don't know. What is it? Is it like Nintendo Direct? And he's like, I don't know, YouTube says that there's going to be a Pokemon Direct thing in 5 minutes. And I was like, yeah, it sounds like it's like Nintendo Direct. They're probably about to make an announcement or something. And he's like, yeah. And I was like, oh yeah, it's Pokemon Day, so that's why they're doing it. Huh, I don't know. And I was like, well, it's not going to be anything big because, like, they always give Koro the first Pokemon reveal, and they always like to just show it and then make us fight with each other about what it is for a week before they tell us what it is. So there's no way they're just going to... Because if they dropped it on us in a Pokemon Direct, they'd have to actually tell us the name of the game that it's going to be in and stuff. And Nintendo ain't trying to do that. Oh, was I wrong.
Were you, though? Were you?
I was, because I sat down and was like, well, fuck it. I get to actually watch this live. And Steve went down in the basement to do his laundry. And a few minutes later, heard me yelling, "You son of a bitch, YouTube! Turn it back on!" Because,
wow.
As soon as I realized, oh my God, he's about to announce a new region. He's about to announce a new region. And he's like, "You've joined us throughout the years, blah, 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 blah. And we hope you will join us again as YouTube encountered an error and needs to close." You son of a bitch. So I booted it up and watched it again. All right, I booted it up before I missed much other than a few seconds. And we were given a glimpse at Pokemon Sword and Shield, the new versions that are coming out on the Switch. That morning, we were also given a new trailer for Pokemon Detective Pikachu, and the day before, Ryan Reynolds posted a video on his YouTube channel, and it was just, wow, what a Pokemon day. It was the most eventful Pokemon day since, probably. And I guess there was like a Bulbasaur pop final, I don't know. But I figured, it's been so long since we've recorded a Silph Radio. I've got so much that I need to talk to the listeners about, and I need to talk to somebody about Pokemon because my coworkers are getting a little sick of it. So, Phil.
I regret making myself available for this now.
No, don't worry. I always talk for like the first 6-7 minutes.
How many of these have I done with you? No, you don't.
Yeah, and then I give you a few minutes, and then I talk for like 20.
And then I get to talk for 3 and call people scrubs for including Yveltal on their team. I know how this goes.
Wow. So today we're here. We don't have a legit topic like we usually do on Silph Radio. We're just going to talk about everything we saw on Pokemon Day 2019, and then I'm going to play that 30-40 minute conversation that me and Phil had. So yeah, I've got a lot of announcements to make, but you know what, we'll save those for the end of the podcast. But
no, get them out of the way now.
No. We're going to save them for the end of the podcast. But please, if you are a Silph Radio listener, please listen to the end. Our Patreon page is live. We're going to be talking about that. And more than we're not just e-begging. We have more news for you too in the Pokemon and Secret Room wheelhouse. I've left the UPPL and, there's a lot going on. So we're just going to give that some lip service. But for all you people that don't give a shit and are just like, all right, you've talked enough. Let your fucking damn co-host talk a little bit and tell us something about the goddamn Pokemon trailer. Phil.
Yes.
Man, I know that you have got to be excited.
I'm excited for
Detective Pikachu.
No, quite not. No, I actually think they're typecasting.
Fucking accent. What is with the accent?
It's how I talk.
Everyone knows how you talk.
No, they don't.
They do. Well, I guess. Actually, this is kind of how Phil talks. It's like a 50-50 thing.
Oh, that accent.
You know how, like, there's Doctor Who fans that it will affect the British accent sometimes just because, like, they've got their head so far up their fandom's ass. Phil's like that, but I think it's with the Gorillas. So
What?
I think that's where it comes from with Phil.
That's not even funny.
I mean, I'm the one wearing a Gorillas shirt right now, to be fair, but it's not funny. Is it accurate at least?
No.
I'll take that it's not funny, but like it's got to be at least somewhat accurate.
I wouldn't even give you 10% accuracy out of that.
Wow. Well, I killed the accent, so apparently I've pissed him off.
I wouldn't say I've gone that far either.
The Detective Pikachu trailer already did that, right?
So Detective Pikachu, I found it to be incredibly... I'm going to go with grotesque because I know you're all thinking it.
Grotesque. Now, is that a direct commentary on the way the Pokemon look, or do you just mean the general tone of the movie and how it made you feel?
Both? Both.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, well, I've got a lot to say about it, but I'd like to hear more. Why? What? The finer points of your argument.
Well, I mean, take a look at, as many of you who are probably listening are at the point where you've played at least a couple of them. Some of you, a dozen, myself included. Yes, there have been that many.
A dozen,
but
if you're counting both versions, sure.
Yeah, and stadiums and spin-offs and so forth. And I'll draw attention to someone of particular note, Charizard. Charizard looks incredibly realistic. And for something that is Charizard, when you say Charizard in your head, you're thinking anime or a sprite. And when you see that thing, you're like, oh, it's hyper-realistic. I would say it even dare approach the uncanny valley. And for that reason, Lickitung and Squirtle, and I'm not going to lie, Bulbasaur looked pretty good. But there were a lot of others that I'm just like, whoa, very uncanny valley, very not what I imagined.
Well, it's not like, it's like, they're not committing fully enough to either direction. So it's like if we made, they're making a live-action Rugrats movie soon. You know what I mean? And they're...
No.
Yeah,
I don't want to see it.
And they're probably going to have CG babies in it.
Well,
so,
as understandable.
And they'll look more like the cartoons, but slightly more realistic, and whatever. Now, imagine they were doing the same thing, but with South Park. Okay? Now, follow me on
That's
this.
hilarious.
So now picture you're trying to take the South Park characters and make them look more realistic and more human. So, but you use the exact same dimensions that you're given in the show. You end up with hydrocephalic... They need a lot of eye drops because they've got these giant gaping fucking eyes in the middle of their skulls. Their heads are so big their neck breaks just from walking around. They've got these tiny little stubby legs. Like, they would look horrifying. They would look horrifying because you have to make, okay, we're either going to try to make them look more human or we're going to keep them looking cartoony and just make it realistic enough so that we buy it being in this 3D real environment.
Humanize them. Matt, Trey, get on this.
Like the Smurfs were still cartoony. They just made them look realistic enough so that, and I'm not trying to hype that, fuck that movie. But like as far as designing the characters, I think they did a better job because like the Smurfs, they just made them realistic enough so that we could believe they were actually walking around in a photorealistic environment without making them so realistic while still keeping the same cartoon dimensions that it starts looking grotesque. With like Jigglypuff, for example, Jigglypuff doesn't look cute. Jigglypuff looks ugly. And that's because
Jigglypuff is ugly. We've been over this.
Well, like, I don't think so.
Did you cut that conversation? We've been over this.
Regardless, the Jigglypuff is supposed to be cute. I think Jigglypuff's cute, and a lot of other people would agree with me. But in the movie, not changing the proportions to fit more with the realistic style you're going with is making it look weird, because a creature that looks that realistic should be a little bit more realistically proportioned with smaller eyes and legs that make sense. Like limbs
that make sense.
Yeah, limbs that somehow connect to their skeletal structure and like, yeah.
One would assume.
So it is. I mean, I heard a bunch of people online like Pikachu doesn't have fur, and even fucking Steve. When I say Steve, you guys remember him from a couple episodes. He's my roommate. And even he was like, Pikachu doesn't have fur. And I was like, I'll tell the landlord you had some shit come up, but get the fuck out of my house. Like, what the fuck do you mean Pikachu doesn't have fur?
He's a mouse.
Yeah, for real. And he's like, well, you mean he's a Pikachu? And I'm like, yeah, you really thought Pikachu didn't have fur? And like, I brought up pictures. I'm like, look, there's a scruff right there. There's little... No, of course Pikachu has fur.
No, it's just a yellow-covered naked mole rat.
Yeah, and I'm like, so you literally mean if you had a Pikachu and you were petting it...
Naked mole rat. Think about that.
It would feel like petting, like, yeah, Rufus? Rufus, the naked mole rat?
You can't see the face I'm making. It's
Nachos? No? Are you not a Kim Possible fan?
No, I know. It's just... Ugh.
Oh, Kim Possible was dope. Now, don't even get me started on that fucking live-action adaptation. No, thank you.
They did one?
Disney announced it like a year ago.
That's disappointing.
Led everybody on to think it might be a theatrical release, and then it came out on the fucking Disney Channel. And we're like, oh, that's why we hadn't heard anything about it in a year.
Because it was a piece of shit, I'm sure.
Deep, 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 deep. Back into where we were. I can't get sued for that, right?
Can you?
It's probably the least of my worries at this point. Let's be real.
Sue me for all of nothing. Go for it.
I'm surprised someone isn't suing me for having their title before they did at this point.
There could be worse things.
Am I salty? I'm salty. I'm going to be salty for a while. Deal with it. So back to Detective Pikachu. Yeah, the way the Pokemon look is definitely, it's hit or miss. Ludicolo looks awesome. That looks way cooler than I would have expected a Ludicolo to look. And, I mean, I think it was a little tasteless to cast Luis Guzman as Ludicolo. I'm not even sure he's actually Mexican, so, like... But,
I can't with you.
Your mother's a whore! Ludicolo! Now, you said something, though, while we were setting up about Ryan Reynolds casting.
I think he's being shoved into just about everything that's supposed to make people laugh, and I think it's ultimately going to be bad for his reputation to just be all over the place, while, as of right now, everybody may think that's completely different, and maybe he's good at it, but we need... I mean,
it's...
Heaven forbid something happened to him, and Hollywood's going to have no replacement.
Yeah, it doesn't look bad. Like, it's like, okay, that's fine. That's Ryan Reynolds doing the voice. Okay, cool. Yeah, I buy it. It's not bad casting with what they did. They wrote it for him. Whatever they wrote for him. But, like, Detective Pikachu could have been somebody different that would have made more sense, and then you could have wrote it for them, like Danny DeVito or something. I'm not just, like, salty that it's not Danny DeVito, but I'm using him as an example because that was
I would love to see it be this Terry Crews, the Allstate guy. We could have done just about anybody with him, and it would have been great.
Yeah, sure, that'd be great too.
Would have been great.
But Ryan Reynolds is just being cast in everything because he's awesome. He's Ryan Reynolds, but
well, he's turning into Johnny Depp of a few years ago.
Yeah,
he's going to be in everything. He's going to burn out. I mean, I don't know. He might not. Don't sue me.
And he released that video the other day, and it was like, so like the whole video was about how Ryan Reynolds is a method actor. It was on his personal channel, and he was like talking about how he goes into his roles method, and he'll live in the skin of this character for months. And it was sort of talking about how his family is getting really frustrated with it and stuff. And it was kind of funny, but it really rubbed me the wrong way because the whole fucking thing, the joke is, okay, there's two jokes. One joke is my family hates me. And it's funny because isn't it funny that his wife's here talking about how much she hates him? The other joke, though, is that he took this role seriously. That's a joke? Ooh, I don't know if I like that. Hear me out. So, like, the whole thing, he's like, talking about, the joke is that he's being a method actor to play Pikachu. And I get it. That's kind of funny. Haha. Oh, so what you're saying is that would be taking this role too seriously. And, okay, even still, fair. It is Detective Pikachu. As a Pokemon fan, I can even be like, okay, fair. But it'll show shots of him. He's talking about how hard he researched for the role, and it'll show him like reading one of those like Where's Waldo books that they sell at like the dollar store of Pokemon. You know what I mean? Like,
no, that's a joke.
Yeah, and it's like at that point when I'm like, oh, so what you're saying is you don't take this franchise seriously because this franchise is serious. Like, Pokemon is something that you have to get and know to really understand, like, what it is and what the fans want out of it and what's expected from a role. Now, that said, Detective Pikachu is clearly just a character that exists in this world, and he can play that character without a thorough understanding of the Pokemon universe. He just has to understand where that character is coming from. That's all he needs to do. But the joke showing him read the Where's Waldo books, it's like, oh, so you think that's what preparing for a Pokemon movie consists of, is reading little fucking toddler books that are meant for 3-year-olds? God damn it, you're lucky you're Ryan Reynolds. You can have my money anyway. I can't stay mad at you, Ryan Reynolds. You can have my money anyway. I'm still going to go see it opening day.
I think I'm going to give it a solid pass all the way through.
Yeah, we'll see. Will you at least still bring me to the theater and pick me up when it's done?
Yeah, okay.
It feels like, fuck, I'll still record the podcast about it afterwards. I'm just not going to watch it.
No, I'm going to talk shit about it up one side and down the other, but I'm never going to watch it till it comes out for free. Or I pirate it. Yar.
I'm going to be sitting in the theater and there's some joke and I just hear Phil's voice like all the way out in the lobby. Yeah. But that's not the real exciting news. Oh, but it is, though, man. I can't... Okay.
No, it's fucking not.
Let me just ask you one thing before we move on.
Fine.
Is every time... Do you at least get a little bit of this feeling? Because when I first saw that first trailer...
Whatever it is, no. I don't get a little of anything.
Well, when I see those trailers, like when I saw that first trailer on the big screen, I was like, wow.
Trailer for what?
Detective Pikachu.
Oh.
Whatever I feel about the movie, and I don't think it looks horrible. I think it looks way fucking better than I would have expected, and I'm really happy that it doesn't look horrible. It doesn't look like it's going to ruin the credibility of our franchise.
I do.
Really?
I think it would have been
Wait. Hold on. Have you seen the cartoon series?
I do.
On the air for like 20 years?
Really? Question mark. I go to give my explanation and you cut me off.
Yes.
Can we back up to that? Have I seen it? Yes, I have seen it.
How could it do any more damage than what that's already done?
I suppose that's fair, but now you're pandering to a whole new generation of people who may or may not have invested into that at all. What I think they should do, before I get cut off, is go back the way they did the Pokemon Origins. Make it more of a more older anime. And you could totally cast Ryan Reynolds. You wouldn't have to blow all the money on CGI, and you could actually have a fucking plot.
Well, here's the problem with that, why I don't want them to do that. Because I want that movie, but here's the thing. If they try to make that movie, they're going to fuck it up.
No, they're not.
Well, here's what I think.
Okay, comparatively, no more than they already are.
I just think we need a few more years so that somebody who grew up loving Pokemon is well enough established in Hollywood that they would be trusted with the budget needed to make a big budget Pokemon movie.
So kind of like Joss Whedon and the MCU.
Yes, or even like Gareth Edwards, the guy that did Godzilla. Say what you want about the movie, he loved Godzilla, and whether or not you liked what he did, he clearly at least knew the franchise he was jumping into and was making it from a perspective of liking Godzilla, and not like Roland Emmerich, who hated Godzilla and was given the thing. You know, when Quentin Tarantino does his homages to the pulp films of the 70s and stuff, he knows what he's doing. You know what I mean?
He bathes in those movies.
So we just need a few more years because Pokemon it's the number one most lucrative franchise on the planet. There are tons of people that get Pokemon who are actively pursuing a career in filmmaking and in Hollywood and are getting closer and closer by the day. We just have to wait for one of them
to go to a studio exec and say, I can blow your fucking tie off.
And to have already established their cred with those studio execs so that they're like, yeah, we'll give you that budget. We've seen what you can, what
500
kind of money
mil?
You can pull
All
in.
right, here's a check.
And, that's when I want them to do that. But I still, when I see this trailer on the big screen, I get that it feels unreal to me because it's almost like I didn't actually think about it, but I just didn't. It's like I want to say I didn't think I'd ever see them on the big screen, but I mean, I didn't even think I wouldn't. That's how unlikely it seemed. You know what I mean? To see an American-made movie.
See a live-action one?
I'd rather see a Japanese one. I'm not saying, it's even better because it's American, but I'm saying it's just such a cultural context that, like, I'm blown away. It makes sense to me.
Well,
I'm
Pokemon's
just like,
been on the big screen before.
Well, I mean, a big budget tentpole summer blockbuster live-action movie.
Gotcha.
And
overblown piece of shit on fire.
It's just, well, I still can't help but be like, oh my God, because it validated, like, when I was in 7th grade and I was like, but that'll never happen.
Nerd culture.
Nobody gives a shit about Pokemon. That's just something me and my friends like, you know?
Apparently, a lot of shits were given over the past 15 years.
Much shits were given. Now, all right, I'll let you give a shit now. You want to talk about something you give a shit about?
Oh, my shit's all gone. Well, so I guess we should probably talk about the new game.
Oh, wait. Detective Pikachu. I just want to say one more thing. One more thing. Well, two more things. He said hell. Did you notice that? So? He said, get me the hell out of here. Isn't that weird that someone's going to say hell in a Pokemon movie? I don't know. That you saw hell in a Pokemon trailer? All right. Other thing.
Can I go home now?
Dude, okay, I was really surprised with how well Bonnie Tyler is, I need a hero. Like, from the opening chords, that song is so Pokemon, it's really weird. Before she starts singing, it sounds like a Pokemon theme.
I'll wait to see it in the movie when I eventually never watch it.
Well, it might just be for the trailer, but I mean, just imagining that synth theme, it sounds like something off of a To Be a Master soundtrack, dude.
It could be.
And also, she's got some high-ass standards, yo. Those are, I can't... The type of people that, like, they like post pictures of themselves on Facebook with song lyrics about how awesome they are underneath it. Well, she's like, I need a hero, and he's got to be brave, and he's got to be strong, and he's got to be larger than life. Damn, you won't settle for someone that isn't larger than life? Are you that big a deal, Bonnie Taylor?
Bonnie T?
I don't even remember your name. Like, are you that big a deal?
Not anymore.
It's got to be larger than life.
But that song is.
I mean, come on.
I don't know. Maybe her ego's bigger than this hero that she needs. I don't know.
You think Beyonce, like you know, Jay-Z be like...
I wouldn't say anything about her or the agency will get you.
If I was poor, would you still roll? If I couldn't front futuristic, would you take your two lips? All right. But you don't think... Jay-Z clearly asks that of his significant others. Beyonce is a bigger deal than Bonnie Tyler. You don't think she's like, yeah, I don't need you don't gotta be larger than life. Not Beyonce, probably did.
Probably this.
Be real.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah, she was like, no, I wouldn't. And Hove was like, I respect it. She's honest. So, all right, we can actually move on now.
So, Pokemon Shield.
Oh, and they don't say... I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So Pokemon Shield and Pokemon smaller, sharper, less effective Shield are coming out. Well, Whatever, I guess. Whatever.
Smaller, less effective shield? Is that what you think a sword is supposed to be used for?
Wow. Yeah.
No wonder you're so condescending to them. You can do other things with a sword.
I'm sure you can, but if you get a bladed shield, you can do more with that.
Okay. Well, okay, Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just said that.
I love you texted me right away and you were like, Shield's the better one. Or right off the bat. I'm like, yeah, that's Phil.
That's Shield and what's the water one? The water starter? Just throwing it out there right now.
Oh yeah, oh man. So they've shown the three new starters. The water one is Sobble.
Yep, Sobble, Team Sobble, fuck everyone else.
It's a water type lizard Pokemon.
It's a chameleon.
Yeah, like it can go invisible in the water or whatever. There's a grass monkey. That funky monkey. His name's Grookey. And he's got the little stick like in his hair. I think he can take that out because you see him like tapping a stick.
Tapping it on a rock.
At the beginning. I'm sorry. And then there's Scorbunny, the fire type rabbit Pokemon that's supposedly like bursting with energy and always hopping around and shit.
I want to also draw everyone's attention to something. After Grookey was done tapping the stick on the rock, who else caught that the footprints that the bunny left in the ground, in the grass, were restored back up? Like they weren't smushed down like he had stepped on them anymore. Did anyone else catch that?
It was when Sobble shot water on them.
Right. When Sobble shot water, he put the fire out, but the footprints were still there. When Grookey got done tapping the stick,
and then
the
Grookey
grass raised
made
back
the
up.
grass grow. That's what was happening. I wasn't even thinking, and I'm sitting here thinking the water made the grass grow because I was like, oh, Pokemon, new Pokemon.
Oh my gosh, nature.
I had an appointment at my therapist's too that day, and as I was leaving, I was paying the receptionist, and she had a Pokemon water bottle, and I was like, hey, it's Pokemon Day. I don't know if you knew that. And she's like, yeah, my kid loves this shit, blah, blah. And I was like, well, you want some big mom points? As soon as you pick him up from school today, you need to... They've made the biggest announcement they've made in like the last 6 or 7 years. They've announced the 3 new starters. He'll know what that means. And she's like, please, I know what that means. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, it's for your kid, huh?
She's like, he shows me him, and he'll be like, and this one evolves into that one. And she goes, why they gotta look so angry when they evolve? And I was like, it's just like for the same reason we do. They're just getting older. And my therapist started dying laughing in her office. And I was like, thank you. I needed that validation.
Good times.
Yeah, no, I love the water lizard. I love the fire bunny, and I love the grass monkey. My favorite is probably going to be the water lizard or the fire bunny. As of now, from the baby forms, it's the fire bunny, but very close. And it could go either way once I see the third stage.
Score Chopper, what's his name? Score
Bunny.
Score Bunny?
It could go either way. It just depends on how big his muscles are when he evolves to firefighting.
All right, so let's shut the fuck up about that. What are their secondary types?
It's just going to be type 1 fighting, type 2 fighting.
Obviously.
We'll have to see.
Fighting type master race.
God. Well, at least most of them are brown skinned. You can't accuse Phil of being a white supremacist.
Oh no, fuck that.
How do you feel about them using the same color schemes for types all the time? Like Steve pointed out that
I think it's expected.
Grookey looks a lot like Chespin.
Actually,
surprisingly enough, Oshawott. It's just like a palette swapped Oshawott.
It's pretty close to it. There were a couple people on Reddit who have actually pointed out that if you take Chespin and like take his face and stick it on the bunny, it's an exact 1-to-1 fit. So I think they're just mishmashing the old starters because there's fucking 900 Pokemon out there.
I don't think you're giving them enough credit. It's Pokemon. We're going to notice so many like intricacies and like little myths that they shouted out in these. Oh my God, I just realized what Grookey is. Oh my God, it's Goku.
I'm out.
It's no, it's Sun Wukong. Dude, he's got the stick. He's got the staff.
And he's grass.
Yeah.
You're thinking grass fighting.
Well, no, I don't know. But do you know about Sun Wukong, the myth?
The Monkey King.
Yeah. The oh my God, dude. Oh, he's got to be, well, we'll see. That's cool.
He's got to be larger than life.
And he's got to be larger than life.
Okay, Bonnie, whatever. I'm going home.
All right, Chi-Chi. Calm the fuck down.
Pretty much. For the record, he's the only one that shares this perspective that I know of. I don't think so.
That's the difference. See, Chi-Chi's version of the song is he's got to be larger than life. Bulma's is just like, I'd prefer it if he were larger than life, but I mean... Yamcha's like, yeah, she would.
I used to go by that name for a while. Secondary typing. I've seen a couple perspectives on this one. I'm gonna go with Grookey being grass and rock. Oddly enough, at me. The fire one, I'm up in the air. I feel like he's gonna be fire fairy, and that seems to be a prevailing sentiment based on his design. But I'm actually gonna go with fire steel. And I'll tell you why in a little bit. Okay. And for the lizard, I'm basically Sobble, I'm gonna go
It's
here.
Gonna be straight water just to fuck you over.
I'm gonna say water ghost just for the lulz.
Oh, because it can go invisible.
Right. I mean, it fits.
I don't know if they're gonna make another one secondary ghost type after we got Rowlet, because like that was such a very strong, odd start. He's only strong because he had a good physical ghost move. No, it's gonna be grass poison, firefighting, and straight water. Don't fool yourself.
I'm okay with that.
Oh man, I don't know. So you're getting Pokemon Shield. This is probably the first time I prefer the Yang to the Yin.
I got the Yin in 2 instances, black and white, and also black to white too. And then
that would mean you got black.
Yeah, I got black in both of those. And the other instance was when I was like, fuck it, I'm getting the Yin, and I went fire red instead of leaf green.
Wait, no, that's the Yang.
Fire red is Yin.
Yeah, no.
Leaf green is Yang.
No way.
What?
The philosophy of Yin and Yang and like masculine and feminine energy,
shows you what I know.
Nothing to do with like human cultural standards, but like the different the different polar energies that make up the universe and that are all present in each of us. Both of them are present in each of us. But like there's sun and moon. The sun and the moon I find are the best ways to do it, even though they're clearly not actually opposite things. The sun is a giant burning star and the moon is just like a little piece of nothing that floats around us.
That reflects the light of the sun.
But that's actually perfect because Yin ain't worried about it. Yin is the more cool, calm, reflective, stealthy, feminine.
I was just thinking it was the
subtle,
first one or the second one.
But they're both like, neither is like less power. They're both equally powerful in their own different ways. Like receptive, emotional, like, and then there's the other one that's more masculine and
aggressive,
and affirmative, and and it's night and day, and
dominant, recessive.
Day is Yang, night is Yin. Grass.
Oh, I always went Yin in that case.
Grass is way more Yin than fire. Fire is Yang, grass is Yin.
I was thinking Yin Yang for first one, second one in the naming convention, and I've always gone blue, silver.
Yeah,
and so forth.
You're a Yin, so you're still going by your team. This is the first time I've always gone Yin like you. I've always gone moon, blue, silver, leaf green, and I right off the bat I'm leaning towards sword, but I'd have to wait and see a little bit more.
Sword sucks. Just saying.
What's the third version?
Oh, lance, pole, axe, something like that.
Crest, Pokemon crests,
Pokemon armor.
That's what Steve said, armor, and I'm like, that would be the perfect third version if they're still doing like diamond, pearl, platinum, gold, silver, crystal. But it seems like now they're doing something different for the third iteration that's more encompassing of the whole thing or something.
Sharpened sword, widened shield, something like that.
I'm thinking crests. Crests are shield and sword. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
I suppose. Anyway. What do you think their secondary types are going to be, aside from fighting, and a little bit more fighting? I like
that grass and rock. That sounds cool. I don't know, man. I don't know. It's so exciting.
It's all right. So how about that new region that's literally a straight shot from point A to point B, and you ping-pong off as much stuff as you can until you get to the top?
Called Garas. Oh, you know what I like is that the Pokemon don't say their own names. Yeah, boy.
In what?
They just go like...
What are we talking about?
In the trailer, like Grookey's just like Pokemon shouldn't say their own names.
Well,
and
they've
now that
always
it's on
had
the Switch,
calls.
Yeah, I know. I'm saying in the game canon, Pokemon do not say their own names except Pikachu for some odd reason, because it's just impossible to picture Pikachu not saying its own name. I don't know.
I don't know. I always picture him with his little other call from, Blue. Yeah, it's something like that. I don't even try. But same idea.
And did you see the big, massive leak just like a week before this?
No.
It wasn't Pokemon. All the beta red and green
No.
data. Oh, wow. The beta data. Dude.
Beta data?
Dude, beta data. Like,
I gotta go data bait.
we finally got a picture of Gorochu.
What's a Gorochu?
Pikachu's or Raichu's evolution that...
Oh, they were gonna do one.
Well, they said it in an interview, but we didn't have any pictures, and they found the back sprite of it. Somebody had certain data, but just the back sprite. It's hard to see. It's got one horn.
Is it big?
It's got one horn, and you can see its ears, and it's got something on its back. Some people are theorizing it's a cloud. Some people are theorizing it's a tail. It's hard to tell because it's a Game Boy game, and it's a back sprite. And you know how bad the sprites were in the original version? Well, this is before that. So,
yeah.
Dude, the male counterpart to Jinx, there was a male Jinx.
Mr. Mime.
More proof that Cubones are an offshoot of the Kangaskhan family. Marowak was going to evolve to a third one, and it was...
a male Kangaskhan?
Well, it was a Marowak that had a pouch with a Cubone in it. Yeah.
That's odd.
Dude, so many more things like the baby Ponyta and baby Meowth and stuff that we saw in the Gold and Silver beta were actually going to be in the original game.
Can I just have 5 minutes with the cutting room floor? Just 5 minutes.
The team that's doing this, or it's Team Space World that's doing it, I think now.
That's picking up all this stuff and data mining and whatever.
Yeah, there's and then a lot of all the missing nose, dude. We know what we know what missing nose look like now. Like all those Pokemon that were in the manga in the background of like the shark, the anchor shark and stuff. They did a manga about Satoshi Tajiri's life.
Uh-huh.
And there's a scene where he's creating Pokemon in the boardroom, and you see a board behind him that shows all the Pokemon they've invented so far, and a bunch of them aren't
in the game.
Yeah, so we're like, oh my god, more beta Pokemon designs. And there was like a cactus and a crocodile and a
cactus
shark.
There's several crocodiles.
Oh my goodness, man.
The crocodile and for alligator lines. Cacturn.
Yeah, dude. And
I think Cacturn is
they
one.
found the back sprites for like all of those. What else was there, man? Like, and a bunch of other just little things. But there's a pre-evolution to Zubat. There was a mid-stage Psyduck, Golduck. Oh man, Wartortle was gonna evolve into its own older version of Wartortle, and then Blastoise came from a different little baby Blastoise. Yup, a little baby Blastoise.
A baby Stoish.
Oh man. Dude, so weird. There was like a 3-stage lizard Pokemon. Oh, and the tiger from the Gold and Silver leak. Dude.
There was so much.
Oh, dude. And it's more evidence that Jinx isn't racist, which makes me happy because I don't want to be an apologist for Pokemon. And I've always said they work so many things into their fucking designs that it very well might be blackface. But like this male Jinx like makes it really clear that they're based off these creatures from Ultraman, and they're also based off these yokai, so like it just makes so much sense that it's not a blackface Pokemon.
I'm just surprised it took people forever to get this far. Oh, that's blackface. How long did it take you to catch on to that?
Oh no, people have been calling it blackface for a long time, and the thing is, I've been like, it is blackface, but it's sometimes I wonder it might not be. And I wouldn't say that just... Like, Ludicolo was fucking racist. I'm not going to say that just to be like, no, the thing I like is not problematic at all. I can like something and admit that it's problematic and worthy of critique. So I'm not trying to be like that. But I have always had this nagging feeling with all the evidence we do have that Jinx wasn't actually maybe intended to be racist. And I'm really feeling more and more like it wasn't, especially with this leak of the male version. Like it makes it clear that they're based off there were these things in Ultraman, that there were male and female versions. There were ice monsters. They had black faces and all this fur around them and like.
Okay, so let's just admit that thing from Ultraman was racist.
It doesn't look like it's in blackface though. It doesn't look like a blackface. It just looks like a Bigfoot type creature.
A Bigfoot blackface.
It actually has more brown face. So
much better. You do see that.
Brown face isn't a thing, though.
It is now.
The only reason blackface is such a big problem is because it's a cultural thing.
People are fucking stupid. That's why it's a thing.
Well, because it's already been invented, and it was invented as a tool of like dehumanization.
I don't know the origins of blackface, but I do know it's
minstrel shows and like white people pretending
parading
to be
around as black people.
To like point out how goofy and stupid
yeah.
Shit.
I mean, if that's what it was used for, then yes, it's incredibly dehumanizing. I just didn't know if they were doing that to just say, we don't let black people on stage yet. So
that's why I'm saying just having a face that is black isn't in and of itself offensive. Like in Japan, where they don't have like a black population and they're not aware of that cultural context, they might give something a face that's black just because. I mean, Umbreon has black face. Is Umbreon in blackface? Like, come on, like...
No, Umbreon's in black fur, and it's worse. Thank you for bringing that up.
It's tough, because Jinx does look kind of like a drag queen, and it's got the big lips, and Japan is kind of known for drawing their anime people look kind of like their blackface characters. So, like, it's a little... Yeah.
Every black guy I've seen in any anime ever, like, has pronounced, defined lips. Like... Is it okay? No, but it's a thing they do.
It's just a thing. Is really all it is just a thing in the cultural context and the what's interpreted. You know what I mean? But the thing is, ignorance of it
isn't an excuse.
Yeah, it isn't an excuse because that's just not the way the world works. Like ignorance that fire burns isn't an excuse. You put your hand in it, you're gonna get burnt. It doesn't matter that you didn't know. So like, I mean, when I was young, I said and did some things sometimes that I didn't actually mean to mean anything, and I just didn't get the context of what I was saying. I didn't get that there was more there that I wasn't thinking of or wasn't aware of. You know what I mean?
And you don't get a pass for that.
Yeah, exactly. I am expected to learn and not make that mistake again, and that's what I did. Everybody's like, yeah, no, you've recorded 70. You've recorded almost 70 of these fucking podcasts. I wouldn't quite say you've learned. I wouldn't quite say you haven't made the same mistake again. Yeah. Man. You got anything else to say before, for the record, you talk for most of the time in the next 30, 40 minutes, so.
Oh, geez. Fun.
Feels like, oh, fuck, no, I don't know how
I'm an opinionated sack of shit. I don't know about this.
I said that all the way back in July. Don't put it out. I don't remember what I said.
Seriously, don't.
Did I mention Israel?
Anything? I actually am reminded of the first episode, and I was like, I don't really want that to get aired, because I was...
Oh, it's fun.
I was an obnoxious douchebag.
Dude, my first podcast was in 2012. How do you think I feel?
I don't know. You're the creator. You're allowed to do that. I'm just someone who either comes back or doesn't come back.
I've said things on Fairpoint that I look back on now, and I'm like, really, dude?
Cringy!
Fucking really, dude? Did you really just say that? Like... I was talking shit about Miley Cyrus's hair once. I was like, was I just having a bad day? Who gives a fuck how she wears her fucking hair? Like,
apparently that day you did. But no, I do want to point out one thing. The males in this game have this giant refrigerator-sized backpack, and the women have
back on,
more of a rucksack. Yeah, sword and shield. Yeah. I do like that it looks like a 3DS game brought to the Switch. I will confess my dismay at no overworld Pokemon, and we're back to random battles. But you know what? They'll hear the outcry over this. They'll either patch it in or they'll consider it for the next game.
It's a little sad that just the way Nintendo's mind state is, we'll never get an immersive Pokemon game, because that's what I want. When it makes the jump to 3D, I wanted it to be immersive. Like I wanted to be able to feel like I was in that game. Like when I play... I don't like Skyrim, but like when I play a game like Skyrim or like an Elder Scrolls game, there have been Elder Scrolls games I've enjoyed. If you play the Elder Scrolls or Grand Theft Auto, like those games are immersive, or the Red Dead Redemption, like you're able to just wander around that world and explore.
That's because they demand more of you than just, hey, I need to pause this real quick.
Well, the Pokemon is a franchise built on immersion. Like the fan base Nintendo, we know that you're in
You really think they're listening?
You're in the business of just making good games, and that is part of why we like it. Obviously, if you hadn't made a good game, we wouldn't have loved it. But like, it wouldn't have had the enduring power or made as big of an impact. But the reason we like Pokemon is because we immerse ourselves in it. You don't provide it. Pinterest and DeviantArt and like podcasts and fan fiction does. No, legit, man. Like all the beautiful fan art that people make that makes you feel like you could take a walk in Viridian Forest. Stuff like that. You know, the fucking fan fictions that depict a more adult version of the franchise. And I mean, I'm speaking from a general fan base's point of view, not my own. I'm trying to say this is where Pokemon fans get their fix. It's mostly
other fans.
Other fans. And maybe that's why Nintendo will be suing people and shit. But like, Nintendo, just hear what we want and supply it.
It costs money. And it's a risk.
Actually, no, you don't need to. Just don't sue us. Keep doing what you're doing, because actually you guys are doing great. Just focus on making cool Pokemon so that we can immerse ourselves in it. I just hope one day I get an immersive Pokemon game, you know?
Maybe. I've heard discussions from other side of the fence saying that an MMO, which is what I think is what is going to be most immersive in a game like
this. That's kind of what I'm asking for.
Incredibly counterintuitive to the point.
Well, I actually want to get you on here to talk about workshopping an MMO. I want to get you and Andrew Spawn together, and I've been trying to make that happen. That's why, like a week or two ago, I was texting you both trying to coordinate it.
So Andrew Spawn wants to do one. No, is
no,
it
no,
that you want
me.
us?
I just want you
want to.
both.
Okay, so
yeah, he didn't request
He hasn't
it.
said any. Okay, all right. Well, I'm a little hurt by that, but I'd love to do one with
A little hurt that he didn't request it.
Exactly. I mean, have you seen me on these things? I'm amazing. I moved this podcast all by myself. Hold on, I can't get my ego out of the door. Let me deflate
You
that a little.
listening, Bonnie Taylor? Here's your man, right here.
Right here.
I need a hero.
I am a hero.
All right, I'm out for now, but please come back, listen all the way to the end, because I've got some important stuff to talk to you guys about. All I need you to do is listen. You don't have to do anything.
So keep doing that shit you already do.
We'll be back in a minute. Well, we're here. Listen to us from the past, us from the future. We'll be right back.
Bye-bye.
That's neat.
I wanted to show you while I was pouring. It's really cool watching it, like, slowly.
It's just heat sensitive. That's all. It's still super cool.
I know. And then it's got its Pokedex entry. It's full Pokedex, height, weight, everything in the back.
8 inches tall. Does anyone know what it actually looks like, or?
McHugh? No. All right.
It's a Cubone. It's a Cubone's dad.
How's it going, man?
It's going quite all right.
So this is going to be sort of a Silph Radio quickie. Superfan Merm sent us an image that it was 2 pages from the Pokemon manga that pretty much confirms or corroborates or what's the word in science talk? Like backs up that it I don't know. It lends itself well to our discussions that we've been having lately. And I really appreciated getting this. Thanks, Merm. And I posted it on the Facebook page for all of our listeners to see. Phil and I ended up getting into a little bit of a back and forth in the comments about our opposing views on ethics and morality in the Pokemon world. So he had to stop by for a moment, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it, let's do this. Let's put the mics on if we're going to talk about this.
I figured it wouldn't be a terrible idea. I mean, if we're going to talk about it, we might as well let the listeners into our own little discussion.
So, it's Oak and Elm in the comic going back and forth, and they're talking about how the PC system's down, and who is it? Is it May? Who's in Johto?
May, Silver, I don't know how the comics are doing it.
Right. whoever it is has just caught a new Pokemon, but the PC system's down, and Elm and Oak are freaking out, and Elm's like, well, why can't she just carry around 7 Pokemon for a while? And Oak's like, dude, you've been spending too much time in the lab. Like, you can't, here's what he says. Of course, it's possible to carry 7 or 8 Pokemon, even 20 or 30 if for some reason you must. But how could one trainer give that many Pokemon enough individual love and attention? Only we researchers can justify big collections. Among trainers, anyone who uses over 6 is disparaged. Which is why the Pokemon League decreed 6-1 as the ideal Pokemon to Pokemon to trainer ratio.
Right, which fits in, I would say, almost fantastically with my entire argument back in whatever episode it was in, where I had said that, why can't I? And I just kept getting pushback from, the league said this, it's their technology, they set up this ratio. And again, I said, if I'm not doing anything league sanctioned, or if I was...
No, Phil, to be fair, you weren't getting pushback. You were asking a question, and the whole point of that podcast was to ask questions and then try to answer them. So that's what we were doing.
Even then...
You weren't offering answers. You were just asking the same question over and over.
And I was offering a better answer to the question that I had, or one that was not accepted. Either way, this backs me up completely. Sure, you can... but you can't expect to be taken seriously.
What was your answer? I don't remember you...
My answer was there is no actual overarching rule. It's just an authoritarian iron fist down, if you will. And I didn't like that.
I don't think you ever said that. I think you just kept saying, why can't I?
Right, and nobody gave me
and John kept saying, dude, we're trying to answer. If you don't think it's that, then help us out here.
And I didn't. I said, I think it's just an arbitrary regulation that is there for no discernible reason. And... the comics or manga makes it clear what that discernible reason is.
Hold on, that's what we were talking about. You said you just said you think it's a regulation,
right? And it's a bullcrap one at that.
But that's the point. That's what we were saying. Is it must be some type of regulation?
All right, well, it was something like that. But it comes to I didn't find it as to be a valid regulation, if you will. I didn't like that that's what it was, and it's just this, our hands are tied. There's no overarching reason, there's no explanation, it's just this way because, and that's what I didn't like. This at least gives me a little insight, and they say, well, you don't have to only have 6, and there are some who don't, using themselves as an example.
To be fair, that's what me and John were saying, too.
Well, no, you were saying that it was just 6 and that's it. It's defective. There's a magnetic field or whatever.
No, you suggested the magnetic field. Me and John said because you're buying Pokeballs from the league, and
right.
So that's why they're automatically going to send back the 7th one. If you want to carry around more, then you need an alternative way too, and Pokeballs are expensive to develop.
Even if that's what it was, I said if there's a way to get my own, and I don't know, I don't remember the exact conversation, but the long and the short of it is I thought it was a bullcrap answer to say that there is no way around it, and there was no canonly presented way around it, and this goes and says, sure, there is.
No one said that.
There was no canon way presented in that discussion. To circumvent the 6th thing
we
rule.
said numerous times, I was like, so maybe you can, if you're just like, I'm going to release my dugong so I don't have to, whatever, go buy a new Pokeball and all this, and then I'm going to recatch it because we have a bond and we understand that, and the dugong's going to help me get through Seafoam Islands because I need to get to my grandmother who's dying in Cinnabar. Like, we posed this whole scenario, and like, maybe you can. It's just there's still regulations because it's a widely used. Just like, how come iPods are protected and you can't put certain stuff on them? It is a pain in the ass, but there is a reason, and that's what we were trying to figure out. It's not arbitrary, as in they were like, we should make it so you can only put certain things on iPods just to fuck with people. The reason was like anti-piracy.
That kind
DMCA.
Of is the reason, but
that's what I'm saying though.
The discussion regarding the dugong and the grandmother, I simply cannot recall. So that's probably a shortcoming in my own memory because it sounds like something that would have come up.
Well, I peppered some details in there, but it was like there's an emergency and you actually have to get through Seafoam Islands. And you're not fucking around.
And the manga posits that it's entirely possible to do that.
Yeah, and so are we.
No, you weren't saying anything
yes,
about
we were. Go back and listen.
Keeping them in Pokeball. Even then, I'm just saying.
We posed also. We were like, maybe it is. Maybe you would release them, or maybe you wouldn't even need to release them. Maybe you would just, we had like a whole bunch of things where we were like, maybe it is totally possible, but the people manufacturing the Pokeballs are regulating them for the purposes of we are mass producing. Just like if you are mass producing weapons, you might like not make it. You know what I don't know. Like,
well, I get
you
that
make it safe.
I get that there have to be regulations, but if I can call back to an earlier segment from there, it was I said, well, if I just want to run around with 20 Weedles, why can't I? And then there was, well, you can't because this reason. And they are positing that it's possible.
We don't have enough time to talk about the issue we're going to talk about, and we're just arguing about the
little things.
Episode 21 again. We're still talking about the Weedles. Ethics, though. What were we... You had said on the Facebook post that's why you always wanted to be a breeder or researcher.
And I had felt that it was always incredibly difficult to obtain any kind of logical, presentable results when you're confined to, well, I can only take 6 out in the field with me, so you always have to use a much smaller scale.
Well, no, that's not what... Well, I see what you're saying. That's what... But we were talking about... I see. And I said, you were saying the league should have just backed out and let the trainers figure out that they can't care for this creature that they trapped in a fucking Pokeball and then it failed to take care of it and honor their end of the agreement. So, sorry, I'm over-exaggerating.
It's fine, but it lends credence to the fact that there are Pokemon schools in certain games, and rather than teaching just, this is what poison does, this is what burn does, you look at these are the ethical implications of going out on this journey. Before you get this license, you need to understand that anything you catch, you are expected to take care of, rather than... I guess some people, when I would go through the games, every version, I wouldn't just go catch something because I didn't have it. I would say, all right, I knock out, I get my experience, I move on my way. I would know several people who would go through, catch everything, and just leave it in the bank or the box. And towards the end of my journey, after I'd completed everything, I'm like, all right, well, I guess I got to go complete the Pokedex. And I always felt somewhat guilty about, okay, I just catch this thing, and then... a month later, after I'm done with my catching spree, I go back and there's all these boxes full of Pokemon that I don't care about. And I always was kind of like, well, in the later generations, I'd wonder trade it away, but there needs to be some inherent. And the reason I stepped on the league's toes in that was I do think that they stepped in there, and I think it should be something where the more you're a trainer, the more your limit is increased. Or if you show that you're trying to do something that does not necessarily require a great effort or a great deal of, let's just say, emotional investment is the best thing I can put into it.
That's kind of what we were positing, is the more you're a trainer, the more your limit is increased. First of all, most trainers you run into on the routes only have 1 or 2 Pokemon because they cannot manage more than that. They cannot capture and manage to capture more Pokemon than that. And
I have to disagree.
Well, hold on. Then you get captain. What? Go ahead.
There was that derp with 6 Magikarp.
I'm not saying no one has more than 2 Pokemon.
I know. I'm just saying they suck. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I know. And so does the general person isn't the most expert locksmith in the world. Like, they're just a schlub walking down the street. Like, not everyone is amazing at anything. I'm sorry. But when you get capped out at 6, if you're a good enough trainer that you've formed a bond with more than 6 Pokemon and take care of them, and you can release that Pokemon from its Pokeball and it will still travel alongside you, then you probably can. Who would stop you? Like you were saying, who's going to stop me if I want to go through Viridian with 30 Weedles? And Weedles are probably pretty mindless and easy to get herding behind you. So you probably could. And like we were saying, if you're being a dick, someone's probably going to put a stop to it. But the reason the league did it, what I said on Facebook was, it's not left up to the trainers for the same reason the people who invented the atomic bomb don't sell them at the general market and assume everybody will figure out a safe, responsible, and ethical way to use them on their own. Pokeballs are, by definition, a technology which exists to inhibit the freedom and autonomy of a sentient, not just living, but sentient, socially developed and self-aware being. It would be wildly irresponsible to not build a control into the technology and for the organization responsible for regulation to institute some type of rule. It's also not left up to the trainers because that's just not the way cultural conventions work. So that was my response to that argument.
I'm just saying, yeah, I get that there are regulations in place, and having an explanation behind it softens the blow a little bit, but I'm still of the opinion that it should be something where, again, maybe in the games you're 12, that's the limit for 6, you're going on a league champion, okay, this is what we're designating for your license. Perhaps Oak and Elm being older, which I really don't understand with some of the old, like, super fans and stuff like that, why they only have a couple. But you get to the point where you can have more than that, or they're
not everyone's... we're
going to go down that route, I suppose. I'm just in the mindset that perhaps the freedom needs to be expanded a little bit. Take us out of our Pokeball, and in the new game, it's not going to happen, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. Maybe make it so that we can choose a class, if you will. This is going to be someone who's designed to take down the league, and that's one path you could follow. And then you have a researcher who's designed to catch this many and then take them out and see what happens. And you would have these groups of players possibly working together to figure out what exactly is going on. It would give people who typically data mine something in-game to do to find all this stuff out, rather than just taking the game apart.
That would be groundbreaking. If they just announced that there's classes in the next-gen Pokemon game, people would lose their shit.
Well, yeah, but nobody would ever pick Bugcatcher. No, it would
be... Would that be the cat class, or would it be like breeder... battler, like, you know what I mean?
Well, you would have like atypical trainer, which is just, I go around, I experience whatever. I have a license for just general use. And then you'd have like a breeder, which is capped at, let's say, 15 or 20 Pokemon you can carry with you at any time, but you are expected to, or rather than going around battling gyms, you would get in touch with...
They're probably not going to do that in the next game.
Right. But I'm just saying, let's go back to Red and Blue for Shiggles. You go to Brock, and he says, okay, there's this, this area that regular trainers can't get access to where I train my rock types. And it's up against, maybe a bunch of normal types in a cave, maybe some offshoot of Mount Moon or something like that. And there are a lot of, say there's this infestation of Bellsprouts, making it very inhospitable for rock types to go in there and train and use their natural invulnerability against normals. So could you pop in there and see what's going on? So first you got to go in there, find the Bellsprouts, see if you can find out what's going on with it. Then you got to go find something that's going to get rid of the Bellsprouts. So you got to go rack up 10 or 15 Pidgeys, bring them in there. And once you get rid of the big infestation, or move them out somewhere else, or even just catch them, you can find out why they're there in the first place. Maybe it's habitat encroachment from the other side of Mount Moon. Oh, maybe something fire type is pushing them out.
I just want that in our MMO, like that me and Andrew workshop. That would be great, because we already sort of spitballed that you'd have all the different class options, and that would be great as like raids sort of that are available if you're a researcher or a breeder and things like that. That's so cool.
Right, and then that would explain why, if some trainer did ever get access to just, let's say, that offshoot of Mount Moon behind the gym, that, there's a lot of Bellsprout here, but they're supposed to train their guys there. Is it trial by fire with them intentionally putting them against their weakness, or what? I don't get it. Why would they say it's such a great training place if there's Bellsprouts vine whipping all over the place? And then it kind of lends credence to, okay, once you're, like, say you're in a game, and as a breeder or I'm going to say more researcher than breeder, because that's totally different. But say you're a researcher and you clear that up. Well, what if you had some way to like link your save or even NFC, since the Switch can do it, and I mean, so could the Wii U, but whatever. Say the Switch can do it, and you NFC with somebody else, and it's like, okay, such and such cave unlocked. Your friend is a researcher and went through and unlocked all these areas. Now you can go in there and experience them, and depending on how far the researcher has gotten in there, let's say, if I can throw my example just 2 steps further, I go in there and I see the Bellsprout. Now, I'm out to go catch Pidgeys, and I run by and swap save data with you. You're a battler, so you've unlocked a couple strong trainers that I may want to go, test my mettle against. But I've also unlocked this cave for you. And you go in there, and there's all these Bellsprouts, and you're like, I don't get it. Why would they bring rock types here to train? And then next week, we have a chance to swing by again, and I bring it over, and I've unlocked it, and you're like, okay, there was this Victory Bell in there that was forced out of the other side of Mount Moon by some fire-type trainer who got reckless and released a Charmeleon or something. And the Victory Bell, who used to run, let's say, that little grass patch by Nugget Bridge, and it kind of forced it through Mount Moon, and it find its little home here, and it's just off, making more Bellsprout or whatever. Anything like that could come to pass. And it's just like, okay, now that I've unlocked that, now you have a victory bell that you can go in and either catch. Maybe it should be something that's advanced that someone who's trying to take on the League Challenge, that victory bell would be hella useful against Misty in the next town. So maybe something of that nature, I don't know, but it would be awesome to see cool stuff like that. And this was all just off the cuff.
Yeah, that's so cool. I love that.
Right. It would give the world a lot more deepness, and it would give the games a lot of replayability. Everyone turns to things like randomizer runs and all these other things that are supposed to make the game better or more enticing or more fun, or it has replay value. Well, if you've got Battler, if you've got General Trainer who doesn't go after the badges but just kind of roams around and sees what's going on, you've got Breeder who would start with a Ditto or something like that, or take from it what you will.
What else would there be?
Fishermen, bug catchers, ace trainers who would have like superficial restrictions imposed. Like they would be something like the Nuzlocke run, where you have other restrictions to prove that you are in fact the best.
But if we're gonna pick a few classes, I don't know, a lot of those, you don't need to make Bug Trainer a class because it's not different.
It would be like Hercule in any DBZ fighting game. He's just there for laughs.
Well, the only real difference is that you're training bugs specifically. Like I know there's other real differences, but like then there'd have to be like every type trainer, like
okay,
and you can have specialties, but I'm trying to say like you don't try to fashion a game with 100 classes on the class list. Usually you can, but I'm saying like Dungeons and Dragons, there are all these extra classes you can do in additions, but there's also like the core 4 or 5 that are each different and broad enough, you know what I mean? And I think Researcher, Breeder, whatever you'd call the Battler, Ace Trainer probably is a good
Ace Trainer
one,
might be more of an advanced class or something like that, but maybe
you
would say like Specialist, and then you would have like Rockstar for Electric or Bug Catcher for Bug. You would say Specialist, and then you can subcategorize, something like that. But the types that you run into, you'd have Researcher, you'd have Champion. Again, a lot of this is centered around a very Battler-centric play style, so you're running into stuff that specializes in battling, and you could take Battler and then subclass it into Ace Trainer, Pro, whatever, and go that way, someone who's gunning for the Champion. Or maybe you could even make an interesting class like Mentor, where you start strong, and your job essentially is to go around and find up-and-coming people taking the gym challenge or whatever, and you're there to get them through a sticky situation. And then you could flip the card on its side and say, we're going to be Team Rocket, or Team whatever. And then your job is to corporate espionage, or steal the Master Ball, or steal...
Criminal would be definitely another one of the classes.
Hijack the Rare Candy Factory, and then you have obscenely powerful Pokemon, but they have garbage typing, so that makes someone else who would be able to come in. And again, this comes back to linking your game together. Someone else could come in and say, okay, you've taken over this building that is an objective later in the game. I'm going to go clear your cronies and stuff out. So essentially, I would take the role of Giovanni, and I would say we're going to target Silph, and maybe that's the hardest one to target because Master Ball. But let's say we take over the Pokeball factory like was done in X and Y. We just post some guards up, kick them out, and we run it for our own ends. And then someone would come along and have to, maybe a group of collections or battlers or whatever is necessary. Maybe a researcher would find a way in using Grimers or something, sleep in through the cracks and then melt the handles, or whatever the case is. There'd be a couple ways to take it down so that everyone has a chance to knock down the criminals, because that's how it should be. But say that's just one direction you could go with it. And you just think of any trainer type out there. Could you make a class out of it? Would you want to play as that? Like, obviously not everyone want to be a beauty or, as mentioned before, a bug catcher. There are some Heracrosses that I would never want to tangle with. So there might be merit to that. Maybe all bug moves deal 50% more damage or whatever. You're going to be garbage for the first half of the game. And then you start getting into X's or like Pinsir, and then Megahorn with Heracross, and even something like Beedrill's Twin Needle could get you through some sticky situations. But it would be it would be interesting to see how the player base responded to that, even as something as small as a social experiment of, here's this, how would you do it? And you'd have a lot of people that would go, mixed type trainers. There's no bonuses one way or the other, but then you'd go to researchers who have no battling bonuses, but they can carry a lot more. And I'm going to steer clear of the passive effects on there just because I don't really want to go into it, but there's a lot of potential there, and it's just open to people to look at what's out there and say, okay, here's what's going on. And I wouldn't venture so far as to say that you could take the role of a gym leader. Maybe after you've conquered them, that's part of your thing, and then you sit there as a gym leader. Yeah, makes for exceedingly boring gameplay afterwards. But
yeah, I don't know. I think everyone would be a trainer. You know, like the basic trainer is just everyone. Like we'll just say that for simplicity's sake, because everyone is, and no one's.
You can choose what you want to do after that.
And otherwise, everyone's just gonna be like, I just want to be a trainer. You know, not the basic trainer, but you know. And then I think ace trainer could be something like someone that's specifically focused on battling and strategy.
This is too easy.
The competitive sport of Pokemon battling. So their goals as like getting the gym badges, beating the league, going on through that adventure, like competing in tournaments, rising in the ranks, becoming a big figure in that athletic field.
I would see an ace trainer as more of a Battle Subway, Battle Frontier, those types of things where they really
it's
have
all
to.
Of it. That's what I'm saying. We're giving broad classes. We're not going to have a whole separate class for someone that's just doing the
gym challenge versus the Battle Subway. See, I was going to subdivide there, but I guess you could merge them together.
Well, yeah, you could still subdivide, but I'm trying to, like I said, come up with the 4 or 5 like broad major classes that sort of encompass the other ones. You know,
I guess I should be considered the master of derailing conversations, because this has nothing to do with ethics.
Oh, I mean, we're just riffing. Right. That's what we got time to do. So that's what we're doing.
Right.
But then you got ace trainer, breeder. Obviously, you go around, you breed. You have to catch Pokemon, seek out rarer Pokemon, bring them certain places, help wild populations flourish, like assist people who are running safaris or preserves. You know what I mean? Things like that.
That would be awesome. And then you would have like these black market deals like, I want a Tauros with such and such move. I'll give you 500,000 if you can breed me one.
Yeah, totally.
I want it as an egg. And then because the guy wants it for his OT, whatever, pride. And it's like, okay.
You have to catch the Pokemon in order to do that.
Right. Or you step into a city and you have to make yourself known. Do you want to make yourself known with the bourgeoisie, or do you want to make yourself known by the Safari Zone that's struggling to keep their Tauros in stock? And that particular type of Tauros, or any strong Tauros, would help their mating chances. And now you have more Tauros in the Safari Zone. You've got to pick who you're aligned with. Again, that's probably something way too in
No
deep.
matter what you do, you still can.
Right, that's what you do.
Well, you still have, no matter what class you have, you still can battle. You're never blocked from just battling and training and leveling up your Pokemon.
Right.
You still have a core team that you can battle with and go compete in the tournaments and stuff. But you have a different storyline and objectives in the game depending on what class. And then, of course, researcher, like the thing you were saying, where you have to figure out mysteries and go investigate Pokemon and learn about them. Criminal, where you're doing heists and organizing and things like that.
It would be fantastic. And it
contestant. Can't forget contestant. The
for
contests.
Like the pageants?
And contests, that would be a beauty
that
and all those. And
I mean, I'm thinking of it more in a linear progression style. Like, you can't get past Pewter until you get Brock's approval. Now, the researcher would clear out that cave. The breeder would fulfill some request in the town who has some swing with Brock and says, okay, now you can head off. A battler would be very simple. Go beat Brock.
Yeah,
and
totally.
3 words, this is your objective. And you're like, all right, whatever. And then Brock is at, there's some difficulty to it. And it's like, okay, well, I got to go train. So you grind out a little bit, and that's your typical RPG experience.
And if you're playing as the breeder and you're going to Pewter and your deal is to figure out the Victory Bell mystery, you can still go to the gym and challenge Brock. There's nothing stopping
There's nothing
you,
against that. But your primary objective would be aligned with whatever you chose. Maybe Pewter's the time where you decide this is what you want to do with your journey.
That said, though, that would be a story that's only available if you're a breeder. You can't hunt the Victory Bell if you're an ace trainer. However, the ace trainer has a different event. It's not just beat Brock. There's something that still happens to further the story. You know what I mean?
Or something special that he's given that, again, he could pass to another player. But yeah.
Something that makes his scenario and his experience of that town a unique one. So each class has different objectives in each stage of the journey. That's such a cool idea.
I would say if they were to do this, take 10 years. take 20 years. Just make it right. If you have to put in 15 different objectives in one town and have none of them overlap and it takes a lot of development time, make it. Because that's going to keep people engaged for quite some time. Now, 20 years is a bit of a stretch, but if they were to take a typical game, or even if a fan was to take a game and say, all right, let's make this other class, let's just add researcher on there to make a second perspective on each of these towns, that is just world shattering. Just right there. It's like, okay, I thought it was just go to badge, get on. Everyone complained that it was so basic, so baseline. And then you look at it and like, okay, there's this. Yeah, you might have to add a couple new areas or fudge some stories, but you would have a whole nother perspective on, okay, Cerulean City is just this town where rockets had caused problems. You get Dig and you beat Misty and there's Nugget Bridge, and that's how you get leveled enough to beat Misty. And then you have a researcher that's like, all right, why are all these people gathering at Nugget Bridge? A criminal organization, or up the way to Bill's. Maybe Bill has something for me to take a look at. And you would look at, like, you wouldn't value Misty as the be-all, end-all authority in the town, because you're like, okay, Bill is more aligned with my interests. I'm going to go visit him and see what he wants, rather than beelining it to the gym so I can get to the next town.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that would be cool if there was an important figure in each town for each person, too. And you could still encounter those figures if you were the other players, but you wouldn't end up going on the mission.
Right.
So
he wouldn't ask an ace trainer to go figure out what's going on in the garden behind his house.
Yeah.
Like he's like, all right, it's not something that you would find interesting, or it's not something I'm interested in having you solve. You would brute force your way through it, and I'm not interested.
Ace trainer could get a lot of the missions that are just like by happenstance. He runs into Team Rocket at Mount Moon, and he ends up defeating the story of Red, the unlikely youth hero. Like, whereas if you were the researcher, you know what I mean. You're kind of like going on missions to understand these things. It's not something that happened to you. You could still stumble upon things, obviously, but Ace Trainer would probably have a lot of that progression of like he's fighting some bad guy along the progression of his journey and stuff.
Right.
You know, have a rival.
He's taking it down. The researcher may be given an option. Do you want to go in there, or do you want to finish your other objective? Or maybe make the objectives line up so that they're already taken care of, or they haven't arrived yet. So that's not something you want to do. But if you want to poke around, maybe make it something that's not implicit in the game, but if you kind of shirk your duties or get started on your duties and then get sidetracked and go into Mount Moon, oh, hey, they're there. You can take them down if you think you can handle them. I'm not sure how the researcher or the breeder, if they have an increased carrying capacity, would be seen as legitimate. Maybe the first 6 and that's it, because it is a battle.
Well, yeah, you'd probably just have every player has a core team of 6. The Ace Trainer doesn't get any more. Right. And like a breeder gets more. Maybe the researcher gets more under specific conditions, you know.
Right, when you take on a mission to repopulate Caterpies because the Weedles are getting out of control. You thin the Weedles out with your own actual team, so there's some XP and growth for that. And then you have to either breed out some Caterpies or catch some, strengthen them, and then put them back as Butterfrees to kind of keep the Weedles in check once they get confusion. Or, something simple like that. It doesn't need to be this long game-ending thing where by the time you hit Indigo Plateau, now I can go start checking off these other things. You don't have to get things to level 50. You just kind of leave it in a better place that you found it in, or one that's more apt to balance itself out. I suspect Butterfrees are not as aggressive as Weedles. I could be wrong, but I feel like leaving a couple Butterfrees to defend a horde of Caterpies will do a lot more than just thinning out a bunch of Weedles and then saying, okay, there's not as many, but they still have Poison Sting, and it could still become a problem. So you can't just thin them out and leave it as job done. Maybe there's different levels of completion for each one. I don't know.
Well, I think, honestly, we need to get me, you, and Andrew together to brainstorm a second chapter of this Pokemon MMO, and maybe even not an MMO, but like you're saying, not an MMO, but a much more ambitious game, an MMA.
Okay, I'm down for that. I mean, I'll be honest, I hope Game Freak is listening, but that's all it is.
Oh, it's just for fun and for the enjoyment of the listeners. But I think what we're talking about, I could see on the 3DS. They're not doing anymore. They're not going to do it, but for fun, But
like a ROM hack or something, I could see that happening.
Yeah,
pretty
but
easily.
Much more ambitious, like on a Final Fantasy level game, or RPG. I think that'd be great.
That's off the chart crazy. But I'm down. That being said,
It's 2:55.
Yeah,
I was getting ready to, because I don't want to not close out.
we didn't talk much about ethics.
No, that's fine. I won't market it as that. I'll just be like a free-form
An open
conversation.
discussion? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think I even said that this is specifically about ethics at the beginning. I just said that's what started it, you know?
Okay.
So,
Yeah, all right, that works.
and it's Nathan from the future.
And Phil, back from the future.
And the nice thing about being time travelers is that no time passed for us. And you guys were just like,
Oh, we gotta wait and listen to this old shit.
you were at work or like commuting or cleaning or whatever that shit you do while you listen to podcasts is.
Because you're a peon non-time traveler.
I need a hero!
I was that hero.
So,
And you blew your chance.
as I said at the beginning of the podcast, our Patreon is up. It's live.
So give us money.
Well, if you want to, if you are a big Silph Radio fan and you want to give something back, there's a bunch of different tiers and bonuses. Even just $1. You can give us $1 for 1 month and then cancel your subscription.
I'll take a dime.
That's a big help to the show. But we're not begging. If you're not interested, don't do it.
I mean,
But
we are begging.
here's the thing, though. I'm like this close to just like quitting my job and just doing this until I start making a living off of it. And when I can do that is when suddenly Silph Radio comes out regularly, like once or twice a month. Because, guys, I know I've been slowing down production and it's been feeling like Silph Radio is slowly disappearing and going away. I love Silph Radio and Fairpoint and Fair Enough, and nothing in my life has ever made me feel more fulfilled than doing these shows. All I want to do is provide more of this, and if you'd like to help, we've got stuff we can give you in return. So,
We do? Why don't I have any of this stuff?
well, it just went live today.
So what kind of cool shit what do co-hosts get?
Go to patreon.com/Secret Room Multimedia. There'll be a link on secretroommultimedia.com if you prefer. Just go through there and follow the link.
It's easy to just click once. And if you know where to click on said door, you can find the co-host door, which I'll be using to claim my free swag.
There's no doors. Are you aware how the internet works? It's a series of tubes.
No. You know what? Yeah.
Yes,
okay.
it is, because
it's a
every
series
time I
of
don't
tubes.
touch my computer for a while, you can see the tubes. I'll show you. Don't touch it for a minute, and the tubes are going to come up. Feels like, damn, I thought you just downloaded some Make My Windows 8 look like Windows 95. Are you actually running Windows 95?
It's just set up here. Not surprised.
And yes, my computer actually is set up to look like it's Windows 95. It makes me feel comfortable and less intimidated. And more like I know what I'm doing.
Because you're old.
Those were the glory days, man.
Yeah, glory days of shit crashing all over you.
It wouldn't crash. That was the thing. The librarians got to deal with that. I would just stay after school and print
Crash
out
it.
Pokey Gods.
Is that where that book came from?
And that's where those viruses came from.
Is that why I didn't get to use the computers much?
I was using all of them.
I said Pokemon, and they're like, nope, no computers for you.
Oh, because you came in after me. That's
Well,
right.
yeah, you know.
Because you were a few years later than me. Yeah. So what were we talking about? Patreon. Yeah. Well, so for $1 a month, you're a Fox tier patron.
I'm a
and
what tier?
You'll be able to download or stream episodes of our new monthly series, Fair Share Podcast, where me and Craig are going to get together and do group discussions with our listeners and fellow guest hosts and put them out as a podcast for our patrons.
So how do you do that with not guest hosts? I mean, I kind of figured that part out. How do you do it with the listeners?
We'll get to that in a moment.
Wait, that's called a segue, Nate.
Well, sometimes the segues don't work because I'm going through the tiers right now. I've already got a roadmap, so I've got to follow that. The next tier is Mecha tier. If you want to do $5 or more a month, and you can always start at one tier and then drop down to another tier as well. You know?
Or better idea, go the other way. Start low and go high.
Start higher, right? For the Mecha tier, you get to download Fair Share Podcast because you always get the lower tiers bonuses. And then you also get to request a topic for an episode of Fair Enough Podcast or Silph Radio, a Pokemon podcast. So,
please don't pick something stupid.
So if you want to request an episode, we are going to ask you to go to our Patreon from now on. For everybody that requested an episode before this happened, I'll still honor your requests. Feel free to message me and be like, hey, don't forget I requested that shit because I've probably forgotten. I've got a lot going on. So feel free to get on my ass about it.
That's
and be like,
a fair point.
Hey, did you forget about that other? Yeah, right. I see what you did there.
You should also wait. Is there one where they can request guest hosts? Because I kind of, this is kind of fun.
If you want, when you request the topic, you may request a guest host, but I can't promise that I'll be able to honor that.
People are assholes. You know how it is.
Well, it's hard to get a hold of people and make things schedule, but I will try. If you're like, hey, I would really love to talk to Phil about what he said about Israel, I will try to.
And I would not come back for that. I mean, I would Skype you, sure, no camera.
I'm like, how's his brother John?
It's the best I can do.
It's the best I got, man. All right.
And for the record, if you do request a guest host, we're not taking that from Secret Room Multimedia. Just as a heads up, this is a group project.
We're not taking. What do you mean?
Like that, you're not paying me to show up if I'm requested.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, well, I was like, well, yeah. I mean,
if you're going to,
they don't have to be
no.
from Secret Room Multimedia, but you're more likely to get your requests honored than if you're like, yeah, Ryan Reynolds. I'd like Ryan Reynolds to be on an episode about Detective Pikachu.
Yeah, no, I'm going to learn how to do that, cutting clips out and making him say things he didn't actually say.
We'd both like to see that one happen. For $10 a month, you can be a Zeus tier patron. You get to download Fair Share.
Zeus!
You get to request a topic for Fair Enough or Silph Radio. And you get to participate live in the recording, or you could just sit there and listen, of Fair Share Podcast. So if you're a $10 patron, you can come in and get in on the group discussions with me and Craig.
So wait, what do the fives get? If the 10s get to actually participate, what do the fives get?
The fives? The fives get to request an episode.
Okay.
So for $1, you can listen to the Fair Share Podcast.
So for $1, all new content from Secret Room Multimedia.
For $5, you get to listen to the podcast, and you get to request a topic for Fair Enough or Silph.
All new content, and you can tell us what to talk about.
For $10, you get to download Fair Share, you get to request an episode of Fair Enough or Silph, and you get to show up monthly for the group discussions and be a part of that.
So for $10, you get all new content that non-Patreons don't get. You get to request a topic and or a co-host. I love you guys, but don't put Yveltal on your team. And you also get to participate in said discussions. Now, I'm kind of curious on this myself. How often do they get to request and
You get
stuff?
to participate in Fair Share. You don't get to participate in Silph Radio or Fair Enough. Just Fair Share.
So in the $25 tier...
Well... If you'd like to be on an episode of Fair Enough or Silph Radio, that's the final tier we have. It's the classic tier, $30 or more. You get all the previous bonuses. You can still participate in the Fair Share podcast. You can request a topic for Fair Enough or Silph Radio, and you can guest host an episode of Fair Enough podcast. As of now, you can't guest host an episode of Silph Radio, but if you want to talk Pokemon, just pick an episode of Fair Enough podcast.
Just talk Pokemon on Fair Enough, but
Yeah.
I won't be there. Wait, am I on there? Have I been on there?
Fair Enough. We can still honor a guest host.
Wait.
If we can try if you want to.
Is Fair Enough the new one?
I mean, it's like 3 years old at this point, but yeah.
New to me. New to me. Hey.
I mean, we're on episode 69, but
This is a good episode. I like that episode.
God, I need a hero.
I'm 12, motherfucker.
Again, no one expects you to pay $30 a month.
Well, I actually more wanted to ask, how often do they get to request this stuff? How often does it get honored? Like, is that like a once a month sort of deal where you pick one from
The request,
the fives and tens?
The request is just once, not once a month. You get one request. You get one request, one appearance. But the regular recurring bonuses is Fair Share Podcast. You can download and stream Fair Share every month. And if you're $10 or more, then you can also participate in the recording of it.
And for all you smartasses out there, we're going to be keeping a list, so don't start at the 5, drop to 1, go back to 5.
No, stop, Phil.
What?
Don't say that. You can 100% do that.
But expect to get another...
No, I mean, yeah, you get, like, that's how Patreon works. You get the bonuses for whatever you're paying. I fully invite you, and I'm more than happy if you're like, yeah, I want to try Fair Share. I'm gonna throw $10.
Yeah, and I'm trying to make a point.
Well, still, I'm gonna throw $10 this month so I can get on Fair Share, and then you know what? Next month I'm just gonna drop back down to $1. And then for a few months, I'm going to be $1. You know what? That was really fun doing Fair Share. I think I'm going to go back up to 10 and do another month's Fair Share. That's fine. Like, you're more than welcome to do that. Any tiny little thing you do to help the podcast is great, and you're paying for a service. You do that at your leisure.
What I was more getting to the point of is don't jump to the $10 level, make a suggestion or whatever, and then drop down to the 1 for a couple months, come back to it, because I don't know, are we going to be able to fulfill people doing more than one request if they bounce back up to that tier? Or are we keeping a list of who's already got their request?
Oh, I see what you're doing.
Because you totally fucking hit me in the ass with that.
You can't game. You don't get to game the system.
And that's what I was saying, people. Don't get cheeky.
Well, I guess that's tough. I don't know, man. Reach out to me if you want a second request. Just reach out to me. I'm not going to be a dick about it, dude. I just don't want to.
I will.
I just don't. You have to understand where I'm coming from is that I'm a human being and I can't shoot myself in the foot right now and say things and commit myself to things that I might not be able to do. So if you want to make a second request, yeah, actually, maybe that is reasonable. I'm sorry, I just sort of responded like, no, you can't game the system. But maybe that is a reasonable thing. I don't know. Let me think about it. But for real, if you're like, no, dude, I really want to make another request, I'm not going to fucking turn you down. I'm not going to be like, no, I don't like my listeners.
Line piece.
I 100%. You can feel free to ask us anything. You could feel free to be like, I don't even want to make a request. I don't care. What the fuck ever. You can ask whatever you want. We're human beings and we love hearing from the listeners. So
on a more serious note, though.
Yeah, hit us up on Patreon. Hit us up on Facebook, on Twitter, on wherever. We want to hear from you. Whatever ideas you have, whatever you have to share. I love talking to you guys. I love getting into in-depth conversations. I've made a few friends from this, I'd say. So, do it up.
I'm also just going to say that if you've already had your request fulfilled and you're itching to do another one, but you know there's other people who have topics that need to get covered.
Patreon.com/Phil Cobb.
Obviously.
And I'll start my own Silph Radio. There's already 5 of them anyway. What's he going to do about it? Send me a cease and desist?
That's not a bad idea.
Wait, is that actually where you were going with this?
It is now.
Feels like I don't even need to finish the sentence anymore.
I'll go buy mics and all that other shit. This can't be that hard.
Dope idea.
This is a super amazing dope idea. Now I'll just see if I can turn a profit on this. People want to listen to me talk. Yeah, sucks to be them.
And, this should just be stated because it happened. I said it, some people might have been confused. I've dropped out of the UPPL. As I said, I can't make commitments to things that I'm not sure I can do. And I sort of shot myself in the foot on that one. And I just want to make a public apology to any of the listeners, to any of the podcasts with UPPL, not just Silph Radio listeners, anybody that was getting into that, even if it didn't affect your experience. They worked so hard on that shit, like Jolly by Nature and everyone else that's involved with that worked so hard on that shit. And, I never meant to let anybody down. Wasn't working out. I didn't exactly know what I was doing. And, somebody who's probably doing much better than I would have done has taken my spot. And I still fully encourage you to follow the UPPL Podcasters League. It's super fucking cool. What they've got going on over there is fucking awesome. And I'm honored to have been included in it for the brief time that it lasted. And I'm glad to have introduced my listener base to it. Yeah.
I'm totally doing my own. If there's money in it, I'm willing to at least hear some things.
Feels like if you want to join my fucking podcasters league, go to patreon.com.
Patreon.com/Phil
Phil
Cobb. Phil Cobb is the new
$70 donor.
Phil Cobb is the best Silph Radio. It's the only Silph Radio that ever mattered. And my level 1 tier is $100. Oh, I'm such a ham. I can taste it.
But his bonuses are pretty dope.
Word.
Phil will train all of your Pokemon in your Pokebank.
Oh, hell no.
To level 100.
People got shit-ass teams. I can't do that.
Except your legendaries.
Man, fuck that. Your legendary ain't coming back. Oops,
Hey.
I released him. The whole world's going to end because you picked Yveltal.
Thank you so much for listening. We've got some more new real episodes of Silph Radio coming out soon.
Oh, jeez, thanks. I'm fake now.
Well, with real topics. And hopefully some more that are requested by listeners like you.
Or me. Are we doing somebody's team today?
No, we're not.
We're not?
We're gonna cut out of here.
We got no submissions
But-
because I was an asshole.
You don't have to be a Patreon bonus to get your team shouted out on the show. So
I'll
please,
shout it out, all right.
get it shouted out and shouted down on an NFL episode. But please, so hit us up on any social media, wherever you can find us. Fairpoint Pod on Twitter, Silph Radio Podcast on Facebook, and there's the Silph Radio subreddit. I think I'm going to make a new subreddit just for Secret Room in general, and maybe we can all kind of get together and talk there. I want to get this community interacting with each other, so send me your teams, do whatever you got to do, and I look forward to hearing from you, and I can't wait to talk to you again.
In that same vein, I would also like to add in, if there is something that you're not thrilled with, anything that you can constructively say, hey, I think it would be better if you did blah, or hey, there's this cool segment idea I had. We're not going to say no. We'll at least look at it.
The best way to get it to me is in a 5-star review. I think she's here.
Patreon.com/Silph Radio 5-star reviews.
Or a Patreon donation.
A $5 Patreon.
Patreon.com/Secret Room Multimedia. SecretRoomMultimedia.com and PhilCobb.com. From the Secret Room, I'm Nathan K.
You have any idea how expensive websites are?
No. That's not how this podcast goes. Once I say from the Secret Room.
All right, whatever. Do your outro, I'll do mine.
I did mine.
Okay, PhilCobbIsAwesome.com. That's right, baby, I know it.
And he's gotta be larger than life. I need a hero.